Hello, and welcome to day 17 of Practical English for Finance and Banking. First of all, I want to apologize for the glare, the reflection. The glare is kind of like the light shining back from the glasses here. Sometimes, especially when I'm reading a lot or something, I do use reading glasses. But lately, I've been doing so much work on the computer and checking my phone for messages, cacao and stuff, that I'm actually using what they call blue light blocking glasses, which are supposed to absorb or block the blue light that comes from things like computer screens and cell phone screens and things. You might want to consider getting something like that with all of the online study. Might be healthier for our eyes. Okay, let's get started. Today we're going to be looking at Unit 26, which is Banking and Financial Problems. Now, some of these are illegal and some of them are just difficulties. So they're not all necessarily crimes, but some of them are just problems that individuals or companies go through. So in the first section here, section A, on the first page, we have all these boxes. And at the top, it says, write the problem in the correct box. So the boxes they're talking about are these gray colored, gray shaded areas. And the choices we have here are capital flight, conflict of interests, credit card cloning, embezzlement, foreclosure, forgery, fraud, identity theft, insider dealing or trading, and that's how I would pronounce this slash here. Insider dealing or trading is what I would say. Insolvency, money laundering, and undercapitalization. Okay, so let's just go through these and look at what's happening in each of these little stories and see what fits best. So the first one here says Lemon Industries borrowed money to buy a new factory. They have been unable to repay the loan. The factory was the security for the loan, and the bank is now going to take possession of it and sell it to recover the debt. So to recover is to get back. If you lose something or it's stolen, to get it back is to recover it, to get it back again. Okay? So, says the factory was the security for the loan. What does that mean? Well, if you want to borrow money, will the bank just give it to you? Perhaps for a small loan, they'll just give you money, basically, but they'll usually do some sort of credit check. They want to check your credit worthiness, your worth, your value, or if you are worth giving credit to. Basically, can they trust you? Do they believe that you will be able to pay back that loan? Okay? Now, normally they won't just give you a lot of money. Again, they might give you a small loan, but if you want to buy a home or start a business or something like that, you'll need to give the bank something. You need to offer them something of value to secure that loan. Okay? And that's what they're talking about here. The factory was the security for the loan. So basically, when they wanted to borrow money to buy a factory, the factory itself was the security for the loan. So basically they said, okay, if we don't pay the loan, you get the factory. Okay? And what another word for that security is what you see here, collateral. Collateral is something of value that you offer to the bank as security for the loan. Some sort of insurance for them, that if you don't pay the loan, okay, they can take this. All right. So collateral is often required when the lender wants some assurance, some sort of guarantee or promise that they won't lose all of their money. If you pledge an asset as collateral, your lender has the right to take action. So here, the asset is the factory itself. Other things that you might offer as collateral, automobiles. If you have a car that's worth a lot of money, maybe a very rare car, a very old car, Rolls Royce, or even a very expensive vehicle of some sort. Real estate, including equity in your home, the value that you've built up. Valuables and collectibles, things like gold, diamonds, jewelry, very expensive paintings or something. Machinery and equipment, again, like in a factory or a workshop. Investments, insurance policies, and cash accounts. All of those could be considered collateral. And here they're talking about collateral equals property or asset. So, for example, if you go to the bank, you want a loan. So you want the bank to give you money, you offer them collateral. You offer them something of value. If you don't pay the loan, they can take your home, or whatever you have offered as collateral. There's different types of loans here. Secured loans, that means you have to have some sort of collateral. You can get more money and a lower interest rate. However, if it's an unsecured loan, that means you would not offer collateral, but you'd get less money and you'd pay higher interest. So the bank is protecting themselves. So, for example, with a mortgage, basically the house is the collateral. That is the thing of value. If you miss payments, if you miss enough payments, then the lender can seize the property. The bank can repossess your home. Okay? This is kind of interesting up here. Also used for collateral, expensive cheese. Maybe some rare French cheese has been offered as collateral, or even a pet, maybe a special breed of a cat or a dog that would be very valuable. Those are things that people have offered as collateral. If you don't pay the loan on your house or your car or your factory, the bank can repossess it. Possession is ownership or control of something. So if you don't pay for it properly, then the bank can repossess that property. So, Lemon Industries borrowed money to buy a new factory. They have been unable to repay the loan. The factory was the security for the loan, and the bank is now going to take possession of it and sell it to recover the debt. So the bank is going to take it back and sell it. That is called foreclosure. Okay, they will foreclose on the loan to take possession of the factory. So that is foreclosure. Okay. Next one. Susan Green is a scientist. She has been appointed by the government to investigate any health risks connected with fizzy drinks. However, she also regularly works as a consultant for Colaco, a major fizzy drinks manufacturer. So, what are fizzy drinks? Fizzy drinks, I'm sorry, let me back up just a second here. We talked about collateral. I forgot this slide was in here. I just added it. We talked about collateral. You'll also see the term sometimes collateral damage. Collateral damage is damage that affects something outside of your main target. For example, if you, in a war, if you bomb a building where you believe that the fighters are hiding, there's a chance that you could damage nearby buildings, maybe homes or other businesses, and there's a possibility that civilians, that people who are not soldiers, who are not fighters, could also be killed. That property damage or the injury or death of people who are not actually fighters, that is referred to as collateral damage. It's not your main target, but it's damage that occurs as a result of the fighting. Okay, so, and that can also happen in business. Maybe there's a takeover of a company, and some employees lose their jobs. So the business overall may benefit from the merger or the takeover, but those employees who lose their jobs would be collateral damage of the acquisition. Okay, all right, back to this one. Fizzy drinks, what are they? Well, let me show you here. This is the fizz, the gas bubbles that come to the surface of a drink, and the little gas bubbles kind of pop and make this fizzing sound. That fizz is caused by carbonation. So we would call these carbonated drinks or carbonated beverages, because they have had that carbon gas added to them. Here you can see the little gas bubbles going on. So, fizzy drinks, that would include Coke, Pepsi, Sprite, orange soda, grape soda, any of those sodas like that would be considered fizzy drinks. I used a couple of different terms there. The term I grew up using was just soft drinks. Soft drinks are basically non-alcoholic. Okay. In the U.S., some people call them soda. Some people call them pop. Some people call them soda pop. Okay. Now, I grew up calling them soft drinks, so when I heard people calling them soda or pop, I thought it was really strange. I was like, that doesn't sound right. And some people said soda pop. I've gotten now, so I use soda sometimes just because it's easier than saying soft drinks. But calling something a pop, you say, oh, give me a pop. To me, that still sounds strange. Sort of uncultured, uncivilized. But that's what the question is about here, fizzy drinks. So, she is supposed to investigate health risks connected with fizzy drinks, but she's also a consultant for a fizzy drinks company. So she has two different things, two different sides of this issue that she is supposed to work for, and that would be a conflict of interest. I would usually call it a conflict of interest. In the book here, they use interests. Okay. I suppose either one is probably okay. The next one, shoot me up. It looks like, when you first read it, it looks like shoot me up. It's actually shoot up, which is a combination of shoot up. Is sort of a little contraction here for them. Shoot them up. Shoot 'em up is a developer of computer games. Okay, and Shoot 'em up is actually a movie title as well. Shoot 'em up. So a shoot 'em up game, computer game, would be a game where you're shooting guns, you're shooting weapons. Producing new computer games is expensive, the development. and they don't have enough money to bring out new games as often as their competitors. So they're at a disadvantage financially because bigger companies have more money, they can hire more people, they have maybe better equipment, so they can bring out games more often. They don't, so they are undercapitalized, undercapitalization. Now you'll notice here the British spelling is with an S. I use the American spelling here with a Z, undercapitalization. They don't have enough money. They don't have enough capital to develop games quickly. The next one here, Jane Jackson, looked at her bank statement and found that somebody had used her bank details to pay for 1,000 liters of diesel fuel in Moscow. She has never been to Russia. Okay. A little quick spelling thing here in American English. Liters is spelled like this. So diesel fuel, 1,000 liters, that's a lot. That would fill a very large vehicle or some sort of tank of fuel. So that's a lot. Jane Jackson looked at her bank statement. We talked about bank statements before, showing all of the transactions. Somebody used her bank details, her account number, her name, her address, to pay for 1,000 liters of diesel fuel in Moscow. She has never been to Russia. If they've got her actual bank information, her details, then somebody has somehow stolen her information and is using that information to purchase things in other countries. So that would be a form of identity theft. They've stolen her ID. Some ways to prevent identity theft: check your credit report regularly. That would show you if people have applied for loans or credit cards in your name. Shred unsolicited credit card applications. Shred, like a paper shredder, to destroy them, basically. Unsolicited means you did not ask for it. You did not request it. Monitor your account statements for unauthorized transactions. Like she was doing, she was checking her bank statement. Follow up with creditors if your bills are missing. If you don't receive your utility bill or insurance bill, check with your creditor. Maybe somebody has taken those and is using that account information for some reason. Keep your social security card and number in a safe location. That would be equivalent to like your national ID card in Korea. Your ID number is an important number. You want to keep that safe. Do not respond to spam email. Do not reply, do not answer, because that tells them that that's a valid email address, and sometimes there can be some sort of malware or something that will steal your information if you reply. Next one. A criminal gang used money from drug dealing to buy antiques for cash, which they then sold at public auction. So, they used the money that they got from drugs to buy some antiques, like you see here in this showroom. A lot of furniture, some statues, maybe some very old paintings here. This looks like maybe a really old toy of some sort, or maybe some antiques like you see in the background behind me here. So they would buy these items, then sell them at auction. The money they made from those would then be clean money, basically. So it's a way of cleaning the money, and that is called money laundering. You start out with dirty money from drugs, you use that money to buy something, and then you sell that item to get fresh cash, clean money. Okay? Now, money laundering sounds like you're actually laundering money, like putting it through the washing machine and then hanging it up to dry. That's what it sounds like, because it is a form of cleaning money. Actually, this year, some banks have actually been doing that in a way. China, this article from CNBC says China is sterilizing cash in an attempt to stop the coronavirus spreading. So they weren't actually washing it in a washing machine, but they were sterilizing it with things like UV lights, and then sealing it in plastic bags for a couple of weeks. So instead of recirculating it, once money came into the bank, they would keep it, clean it, make sure there was no living virus on it before they would use it again. And I read also Korea did the same sort of thing to try to stop the spread of the virus. So that is money laundering. Next one. Greg Davis knew that his company was secretly planning to buy a profitable subsidiary. He bought a lot of shares in his own company. When the acquisition was announced, the share price went up, and he made a lot of money. So he had some inside information here, some information that was not available to the public. He knew his company was secretly planning to buy this. So this was not publicly known information. So he had some information that other people did not have. This is a woman named Martha Stewart. I don't know if you've ever heard of her. She did something like this. She had an empire. She did things like cooking shows, home decorating. She had a TV show, books, magazines, and she was a very popular, very famous woman. Well, but she did some insider trading here. Her net worth, $650 million. That's how much her empire was valued at. She made $45,000 on insider trading. Compared to $650 million, this was very, very small. But she got caught. She had some inside information, she made some trades, she made a little bit of profit, and so there was this scandal, an insider trading scandal, tarnishes the queen of perfection. They called this Martha's Mess. This was from Newsweek magazine. So, she went from being on TV and magazines, having her own show. She actually served some time in jail for insider trading. So that is insider dealing or insider trading. The next one here. The democratically elected president of the country was deposed in a military coup. This is pronounced coup, not coup. Okay, the P is silent. Military coup. Many investors withdrew their capital in order to deposit it in other countries. So military coup, that's when you have a government that is in power, has been elected, but then the military takes over. So here's an article from NPR, that's National Public Radio in the U.S., says, why does Thailand have so many coups? Because Thailand has had over a dozen coups. I believe a dozen successful coups, and other failed attempts. And they're currently still under a military junta. So when you have a coup, the president or the prime minister, the leader, is deposed, is removed from office, basically. Many investors then withdrew their capital in order to deposit it in other countries. If there's a military coup, if the government is seen as unstable, if the situation is not good, then investors get scared. They get concerned. They get cold feet. And so they might move their money to other countries. And that is called capital flight. It's like the capital is flying away, flying to other countries. Capital flight. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back. The next one here says, until she was discovered, until she was caught, Tina Edwards managed to steal £100,000 from the pension fund she was managing. So a pension fund, like a retirement plan. Before she was caught doing it, she stole £100,000 from this pension fund. So if you're in charge of some sort of finances for a company, an investment, or something like that, and you take that money for personal use, like this guy pocketing some money that belongs to the company, that is called, it's a type of fraud, but here, embezzlement is an unlawful taking of property by someone to whom it was entrusted. In a pension fund, the workers' money is entrusted to the pension company. They trust you with it, to invest it, to keep it safe. Most common type of embezzlement is the misappropriation of the practice's cash and checks. Example, here would be bank tellers who take money out of their drawers. That would be a form of embezzlement, money that belongs to the bank and the employee is taking it. And obviously they would try to hide that in some way. They just talk about fraud in general at the top here. It's an intentional act. It's not accidental. Intentional act involving use of deception that results in a material misstatement of financial statements. Fraud commonly includes activities such as theft, corruption, conspiracy, embezzlement, money laundering, bribery, and extortion. So here's some other good types of fraud. There's not just a single type of fraud. There's many different ones. So this would be embezzlement. When Ian Barlow paid for a restaurant meal, the waiter took his credit card away for several minutes. It's one of those where you pay at the table, and the waiter takes the card and then brings it back. A month later, Ian found that a copy of his card had been used to buy some diamonds in Colombia, the country in South America. So, they made a copy of his card. If you copy something, you make copies of it, whether it's a puppy or a person or a vegetable, that would be considered a clone. Okay, and there's various machines that do that. On here, they have another little card or a number pad placed over the top of the original one, designed to help them steal passwords with credit cards or bank cards. So this would be credit card cloning, where they actually made a copy of his credit card. Alright, at the bottom here, Jeff Parker, that G-E-O-F-F is just pronounced Jeff. Like, another way to spell that would be J-E-F-F. That's also pronounced Jeff. Jeff Parker convinced several people to invest substantial sums of money in a company which didn't exist, a fake company. He then took the money and disappeared. So he convinced people, friends, co-workers, people he met, to invest substantial sums of money. Substantial, significant, large sums of money. A sum is just an amount. Quantity. So he got people to invest a lot of money in a company that did not even exist. It was completely fake. He took the money and disappeared. That is a very typical scam. Scam is a type of fraud or deception. This, of course, was an investment scam, and so that is one of the types of fraud. Here, an investment fraud. Turkey trading. Owe large sums of money. to several creditors. There is virtually no chance that they will be able to repay these debts, and the company will probably go into liquidation. So they owe large, again, sums of money, large amounts of money to several creditors, people they owe money to. There's virtually no chance. It's impossible. There's almost zero chance they will be able to repay those debts. The company will probably go into liquidation. So in a liquidation sale, that's when they come in and sell everything. Because they need to turn the assets, the goods, the items, the inventory into cash. So they liquidate those things. They basically convert them into money by selling them. So in a liquidation sale, usually everything has to go, even at very cheap prices. So they're going to sell all of the assets here to pay the debts because the company is in insolvency. Insolvency basically means they have more debts than assets. The last one here, using some special paper and a color photocopier, Henry Black has been making counterfeit €100 notes in his garden shed. So, using special paper and a special color photocopier, a copying machine, this guy has been making counterfeit €100 notes, paper currency, in his garden shed. In the UK, they talk about a garden shed. The garden is just like your yard, like a backyard. A shed is a small building where you would go, and some people use them to do some woodworking or crafts, or that's where you would keep like your lawnmower and your garden tools and things like that. So this guy's making special paper and a color photocopier to make fake money. Okay, now obviously this is not euros. This is, you can see the computer screen here though, where he's got, these are US $100 bills. Okay, but using a computer and printer here to do those. That is a type of forgery. Counterfeiting money is a type of forgery. So, and governments, banks use various methods to spot counterfeit currency. To spot it means to see it, to find it, to detect it. Okay? And so my question for you today, your attendance check that you can answer in Cacao is, what steps do governments or banks take to prevent counterfeiting? What are some steps they take to prevent counterfeiting? You only need to give me one, okay? And read other people's and try not to, so we don't have 25 of the exact same answer. But you guys are pretty good at that, coming up with a variety of answers. So write at least one thing that governments do to try to prevent counterfeiting. Okay? That's it for today. We'll keep it kind of short today. And we will continue with the next part of this in our next class on Thursday. Okay, have a good afternoon. Thank you.